ever think about like the best way to spend your life? And I don't just mean, your money, but like your time, your energy, all of that, you know? Today we're going to dive into this whole dying with zero thing. It's from this book by Bill Perkins, Die with Zero. And you might be thinking, dying with zero? Kind of morbid, isn't it? I get but hold on. Perkins isn't saying we got to go blow all our cash like crazy, right? It's more about like really thinking about how you use your time and money so you can, enjoy life the most, not just stocking it away for some like unknown future. One of the coolest things Perkins talks about is this idea of memory dividends. It's like this. You have these awesome experiences like taking a trip or learning something new, and they kind of keep giving back even after they're over, right? Like they become these little mental snapshots you can go back to, and they bring back all those good vibes. Way better than buying some fancy gadget you'll probably forget about next year, right? And here's the thing. The older we get, the harder it is to really enjoy some experiences. I mean, skydiving when you're 80, maybe not so much. Bergens is saying we gotta, like, factor in how the value of some experiences can change as we age. For example, he talks about this guy named Jason, who went backpacking through Europe in his 20s. Totally broke. Maxed out his credit cards, the whole deal. But years later, he said it was like the best investment he ever made. Those memories, the stories, the personal growth he got from it, he says it was priceless. And it got me thinking about my own experiences. Remember that time I went to that music festival? Okay, maybe not Europe, but still pretty epic. I was young, carefree. The music was incredible. And even now, just thinking about it gives me this like rush of excitement and pure joy. See, that's Perkins' the point. These memory dividends are like compound interest for your happiness. They just keep paying off, even after the experience is done. But here's where it gets really interesting. Studies show that most people actually die with a good chunk of their wealth still sitting there. The Federal Reserve, they found that people are super slow to spend down their assets in retirement. It's like this fear of running out of money, this what-if thinking that stops us from really living our lives. We work like crazy to build wealth, and then we're too scared to use it. And you know what? This whole idea of leaving a big inheritance might not be the best way to help your kids either. Think about it. You give them this huge pile of money when they're like 60 or 70. By then, their health might not be great. They might not have as much energy. And there's probably a ton of stuff they wish they'd done when they were younger. Like my friend Sarah, she got a bunch of money from her grandparents when she was in her late 50s. Don't get me wrong, it was definitely helpful. But she always said it would have been way more valuable if she'd gotten it like a decade or two earlier. Back then, she was a single mom, working hard to make ends meet. That money could have made a huge difference for her and her kids. So Perkins is saying, maybe we should rethink this whole inheritance thing. What if, instead of waiting until we're gone, we give our kids some of that money when they're younger? When they could really use it, to chase their dreams, start a business, buy a house, actually build a life. It's like giving them a head start, a chance to thrive and have experiences they might not be able to otherwise. Plus, you get to see them enjoy it. Now, I know what you're thinking. What about my retirement? What if I run out of money? Wholly valid concerns, right? Well, Perkins isn't saying we should just throw caution to the wind. He's all about a balanced approach, someone that takes care of our long-term needs while still letting us enjoy life. And this is where things get a little technical, but stick with me. Perkins talks about this idea called net worth peak. Basically, it's the point in your life when your net worth, all your assets minus your debts, is at its highest point. And guess what? For most people, that peak doesn't happen in their 60s or 70s. It happens much earlier, often in their 40s or 50s. That's when you're usually making the most money, but you also have big expenses like college for your kids or maybe that dream house you've always wanted. So once you hit that peak, Perkins says you should start thinking about strategically spending down some of that wealth. Why? Because remember that thing about how the value of experiences can change as we age? Well, the same kind of goes for our ability to enjoy life as we get older. Our health might not be as good, we might not have as much energy, and our priorities might change. Think about it. You're more likely to enjoy that once-in-a-lifetime safari when you're 50, and can still handle those long flights and bumpy Jeep rides, right? I know this whole spending down your wealth thing seems kind of backwards. We're always told to save, save, save for retirement. But Perkins makes a pretty good argument for why we should be more intentional about using our money to create a life full of experiences and memories while we're still young enough to really appreciate them. And you know what? I'm starting to think he might be onto something. So we've been talking about this whole die with zero thing, and how it's not about like being reckless with your cash, but more about like really thinking about how you're going to spend your time and energy throughout your life, right? But let's be real for a sec. Sometimes life just throws you a curveball, like unexpected bills, health stuff pops up out of nowhere, you name it. So, how do we balance enjoying life now with like planning for those just in case things? Well, Perkins, he talks about this in the book. He reminds us about, insurance. Yeah, the thing we all love to hate, right? But think about it. Insurance is kind of like a safety net, right? It helps deal with those like risks that could totally mess up our financial plans. So if you're worried about healthcare costs later on, get yourself some good health insurance. If you're worried about outliving your savings, check out annuities or long-term care insurance. The point is, there are things out there to help us deal with those money worries, while still letting us like embrace this whole die with zero idea. And here's another thing Perkins talks about. It's not just about when you spend your money, but also how you spend it. He says that experiences usually give you a better return on your investment than buying stuff. That's because experiences create memories. And memories, like we talked about, are those memory dividends that keep paying off way after the experience is over. You know what I mean? Think about it. That awesome trip you took to Italy, that time you learned to surf, that concert you went to with your friends. Those are the things that really make your life richer, right? They kind of shape who you are, they give you stories to tell, and they make you happy for years to come. Now, I'm not saying you should never buy yourself anything nice. I mean, I love a good pair of shoes as much as anyone. But Perkins' point is that we got to be mindful of how we're using our resources and prioritize those experiences that'll really, light us up. And speaking of lighting us up, Perkins also talks about how important it is to give back. He thinks we should be more generous with our money while we're still here, instead of waiting to leave a big inheritance. Remember my friend Sarah, who inherited that money from her grandparents? Imagine if they had given her some of that money when she was, like, a single mom, really struggling. It could have made a huge difference for her and her kids. And it's not just about helping our family. There are so many amazing charities and organizations out there doing awesome work, and they could really use our support. So, yeah, let's be smart with our money. But let's also be generous, Let's use our wealth to make a real difference in the world, to help others, and to create something that lasts beyond our own lives. Now, this whole die with zero philosophy can feel kind of overwhelming at first, right? Like, where do you even start? How do you actually, put it into practice? Well, Perkins gives some practical tips in the book. One thing he says is to think about your life in terms of seasons. Each stage of your life, your 20s, 30s, 40s, and so on, they all come with different opportunities, challenges, and limits. And what you can enjoy and experience changes as you go through those seasons. Like when you're younger, you might have more energy and freedom to travel the world, take risks, try out different jobs, you know what I mean? Then as you get older, your priorities might change. You might start a family, settle into a career, buy a house, and focus on building a stable life for yourself and your loved ones. But here's the thing, you don't have to let those responsibilities completely take over your life. You can still find ways to, follow your passions, create memories, and really squeeze the juice out of life no matter what stage you're in. And as you get even older, your physical abilities might not be what they used to be, your health might change, and you might not have as much energy for certain things. But that's okay. That's just another season, another chance to adapt and find new ways to enjoy life. Maybe you can't hike that mountain anymore, but you can still go for walks, read books, hang out with friends, and appreciate the simple things, The point is, each season has its own beauty and value. And if you embrace those changes, you can keep living a full and happy life no matter how old you are. So yeah, let's think about our lives in terms of seasons. Let's make the most of every chapter. And let's create a collection of experiences and memories that'll make us smile until our very last breath. And you know what? This whole seasons of life thing, it got me thinking about how I used to be so focused on reaching these big long-term goals, like I had this whole plan for my career, my finances, my whole life. But then I started to realize that I was missing out on the little things, everyday moments that actually make up most of our lives. It was like I was so busy chasing the future that I forgot to actually live in the present. And then something happened that totally changed my perspective. And then I got laid off, yeah, out of nowhere. I mean, I had this whole plan, right? But suddenly there I was, no job, little bit of severance pay, and a whole lot of what now? It was scary, definitely. But you know what? It was also kind of freeing. It forced me to really think about what was important, step out of my comfort zone and figure out what I actually wanted my life to look like. And that's when I decided to take a chance. I always wanted to start my own business, but I always had an excuse, right? Not enough time, too risky, what if I fail? But with no job holding me back, I realized there was no better time than now to just go for it. So I took a deep breath, used some of my savings, and launched my own little online shop. It was a lot of work, and I definitely messed up a bunch along the way, but it was so worth it. And you know what? Even though that business didn't end up being my forever thing, the whole experience was super valuable. It taught me so much about myself, about how to bounce back, about the power of taking risks. And it made me realize that sometimes those unexpected twists and turns in life can lead to amazing opportunities you might never have found if you just stayed on that like safe, predictable path. So, yeah, sometimes life throws you a curveball, but instead of seeing those curveballs as setbacks, maybe we can start seeing them as chances to grow, to change, to create a life that's even more true to ourselves and what we want. And this brings me back to Perkins's whole dying with zero idea. It's not just about spending down your money, it's about spending down your potential, your energy, your time here on earth. It's about making the most of every single moment. Chasing your passions, taking risks, giving back, and creating a life that's full of experiences, connections, and memories that'll stay with you forever. And you know what? One of the most important things you can invest in is your relationships, the connections you have with your family, your friends, your loved ones. Those are the things that really matter in the end, right? Remember that time I went on that road trip with my college buddies? We were young, broke, crammed into this beat up old car. We didn't have fancy hotels or planned out itineraries, but we had each other, and that's all that mattered. We laughed so hard, sang along to terrible music, shared stories and dreams and secrets. Even now, that trip is one of my favorite memories. It's like those shared experiences, those moments of connection, they create bonds that last a lifetime. So, yeah, call your mom, meet a friend for coffee, have a family dinner. Those little things, those connections can make a huge difference in your life and the lives of those you love. And speaking of well being, don't forget about the most important relationship of all, the one you'd have with yourself. Taking care of your physical, mental, and emotional health is so important for really enjoying life. I used to be terrible at this. I'd work crazy hours, skip sleep, eat whatever was easy, then wonder why I felt so burnt out and tired all the time. But I learned the hard way that you can't give what you don't have, right? If you want to live a life full of energy, really feeling alive and passionate, you got to take care of yourself first. So, yeah, invest in experiences, invest in relationships, invest in giving back, but also invest in yourself. Get enough sleep, eat good food, move your body, do things that make you happy, and ask for help when you need it. Because taking care of yourself is like showing yourself love, and it's the foundation for living a life that's truly worth living. And you know what? Sometimes the best experiences are the ones you don't plan, the ones that just kind of happen. Like that time I found this amazing old bookstore tucked away on a side street. I wasn't even looking for books, but someone just pulled me in. And there, among all the bookshelves and that old book smell, I found this book that totally changed how I saw things. It was like the universe was trying to tell me something. So yeah, be open to those unexpected turns, those random moments, those little surprises that make life so interesting. And on that note, I want to leave you with one last thought. It's a question from Bill Perkins' book, and it's one I think about a lot. If you knew exactly how much time you had left, how would you live your life differently? It's a pretty powerful question, right? It makes you really think about what's important, the choices you make, and what really matters most. So take some time to think about that. See what comes up. And remember, life is a gift. It's It's a precious and short adventure, so make the most of it. Live with intention, passion, and purpose. Create a life that's full of experiences, connections, and memories that'll make you smile until your very last breath. And if you're looking for some guidance on this crazy journey we call life, I definitely recommend checking out Bill Perkins' book, Die with Zero. It's a real game changer. Until next time, my friends, stay curious, keep exploring, and keep living your best life. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, like, comment, and share. Until then, drive safely and keep learning. I'll catch you on our next deep dive.